Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Pissy.
Well, that's wonderful. This is episode 193, 194. That means 5 more episodes till episode 200.
Meh.
You could say meh. I say we are a national treasure. And people are geamed. They're excited. They want episode 200. And yet you're in a horrible mood. Why are you in a horrible mood?
We'll get to it when we get to freaking.
Oh, you people in your moods.
No, that's called foreshadowing.
I know, but you're in a bad mood. The people I work with are in a bad mood. Everybody's in a bad mood.
I think you're sucking up all the good stuff.
Well, maybe that is, but I really doubt it because I'm looking at my freaking list and, boy, there's a lot there. You know, I'm not the new fish at work anymore.
Uh-oh.
They have hired 2 new people. And I was in a training with them. And then after the training, you know, we're back at our desks and they're looking for someone to sit and listen to calls with. And one of them was walking the aisle saying, when do you go to lunch? Oh, I go to lunch. Oh, when do you go to lunch? Can I listen to calls with you? Oh, I'm not on the phone. And they get to me and the guy says, well, can I listen to calls with you? And I said, well, I'm going to lunch in 20 minutes. And so if you want to listen to calls, I'm only going to be available for 20 minutes. And he said, well, I'm going to go check with other people. And if you're the best I can get, I guess that'll do. And I said, buddy, that's the story of my life. Mm-hmm. Everybody passes by until they figure I'm the best they can do. You are
just the best. I mean, I could get other people to do podcasts with, but no, that's a lie. I can't get anybody.
Really?
Well, you do a lot. I mean, if I did
I do a lot of podcasts. It's a 2-podcast summer. We do a Crazy and a Solitaire Rose, and we do one a week. And I have pledged to do a solo podcast every week until the end of summer.
Cool.
Because I don't like going outside.
I pledge not to do a solo Joe until the end of summer.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on it.
No, you're not.
About as hard as Trump is working on becoming president.
Well, his hair is working pretty hard.
And I don't have hair. So, there is balance in nature. You're in a great... I'm in a pissy mood. That's the way it goes.
I'm not going to get into a lot of politics, but I do love the fact that he chose a Neil Young song, Rockin' in the Free World, for the big campaign song, a song which tells the story of a woman who dumps her baby in a garbage can to go get a hit of heroin.
That sums up Trump's life there, right there in a nutshell, I think.
There you go. That's his version of America, his vision for America, everybody. It's almost like when Reagan picked Born in the USA, which is all about how, a guy gets drafted into the military, when he comes back can't get a job because the Reagan had shipped them all overseas and shut down VA hospitals to save money. And do people listen to the lyrics of songs, Joe?
I don't even know if they listen to songs anymore.
I still remember in high school, I went to a prom where the theme was the Police's song, Every Breath You Take, which is about stalking a girl. Or there was one wedding I went to where they played the couple's song for them to dance to was REM's This One Goes Out to the One I Love, which the next line in that song is, a simple prop to occupy my time. This one goes out to the one I love.
You almost sound like the Riddler from the classic Batman TV show.
Yeah!
Now, that was more Joker-like, but...
You know what I thought? Whenever I watched the Batman TV show...
I actually don't, because if I did, I'd be telepathic.
I think it would have been great if Cesar Romero played the Riddler and Frank Gorshin played the Joker, because the way he played the Riddler was how I imagined the Joker. I just blew your mind, didn't I?
Sorta, maybe.
Okay. So, you know what I do, Joe, you know what I do to kind of pass time, don't you?
Yes, but I was told I shouldn't talk about it.
I look at the sales charts.
Because we all know there are two types of people in the world. Those who can extrapolate from incomplete data.
And what are the other kind?
Oh, we know which one Cory is.
There are two kinds of people in the world. People who divide people into two categories and people who don't.
16 sodium atoms walk into a bar, followed by Batman.
Oh.
Yes, I'm thinking that's how I'm going to go.
Oh. I think I just had an aneurysm. So, did you see what the number one selling comic for May was?
Negative.
Can you guess what the number one comic for May was?
Secret Wars.
It sold over 500,000 copies.
Well, it wasn't Convergence.
No, Convergence sold around 100,000 with its last 4 issues. Each one was around 100,000, which really for DC is pretty good because the only book they have that usually pops over 100,000 is Batman. Even Justice League only gets close, and the Jim Lee Superman dropped out of the 100K club pretty quickly. You know what the number 2 selling comic was, Joe?
No.
Bravest Warriors, Tales of Hollow John.
Okay, I'm going to have to Google that because I've never heard of it.
It sold over 500,000 copies, too.
Is it manga?
No! It's a comic from Boom Studios that I had never heard of.
Original or licensed?
Original.
Ooh.
It was picked up by Loot Crate. It was the comic in Loot Crate this month. Now, normally a Boom number 1 sells about 12 to 17,000 copies. This one sold over 500,000, which to me says that if Loot Crate wants to put a comic in their box, it's going to 500,000 people.
Ah, interesting.
And that's crazy talk.
That's crazy loot.
I've looked at Loot Crate, and it's one of those things that I think some people would like, and I would be annoyed and just I would hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the premise of Loot Crate? And no, they're not a sponsor.
Oh, I was looking to see if it had anything to do with the demise of Howard Johnson's.
No.
No, okay.
What it is, it's you pay for a subscription, and every month they send you a box of stuff, and there's a theme to it, and it's like toys and T-shirts and tchotchkes and maybe a comic or maybe a magazine or something like that. And I could see why that would be fun for some people, but for me, I would be irritated if, I paid for it this month, and then I open it up and it was all crap I didn't want. I don't have $25 a month to piss away. And if I did, I certainly wouldn't piss it away on that. I'd piss it away on diet soda and pie.
Diet soda pie.
All of the top 10 comics were over 100K. And Star Wars, which sold 1 million copies with issue 1, issue 6 still sold over 100,000 copies.
Impressive. But is that total copies? Because, I mean, there were a hell of a lot of variants with that Star Wars.
Yeah, that's total copies. And the other thing was Star Wars number 1, picked up by Loot Crate. So, if I were a publisher, I would find out where the person who decides what goes in the Loot Crate lives, and I would sit on his lawn and offer to do whatever he wanted if he would pick one of my books. I mean, whatever he wanted. So now I might have to read this Bravest Warriors, the Tale of Hollow John. Or Holo John. Or
write that down and see if I can find it here. Bravest Warrior, Tale of Hollow John.
Yeah. I imagine there will be a lot of them on the eBays.
Now, are they exclusive?
No.
I mean, did they make an exclusive Loot Crate version?
I don't know.
Oh, let's find out. Loot Crate, like it sounds?
Yes.
All right, no special K or anything. All right, Let's see. Loot Crate.
Joe's looking up on the interwebs.
There's something called Tendo, the Legend of Future Gold variant Loot Crate exclusive figure. But we don't care about that. Let's get into collectibles. And I see some comics. Apparently they have trading cards that are... All right, here we go. They have an anniversary Batman Funko. And here's the Star Wars. And if I look closer, they do have exclusives. They have a Star Wars number one that's got it. I can't tell if it's got to be a painting, real realistic of Luke and Chewie, and on the bottom, Loot Crate exclusive. So just like all the other Loot Crates we possibly could have, here's a Mad Magazine Unite the Stupid Loot Crate edition. Here's the Bravest Warrior. It looks like an animated show. And let me zoom in and see if there's anything else there. Cartoon Hangover?
Yeah, I've never heard. I looked it up when I saw it. Yeah, which is the kids line that Boom does.
So I'm wondering if that's like some animated show or something. Last time I heard Bravest Warrior, I think it was like about a toaster or something.
Yes, the brave little toaster.
They have a Walking Dead number 132 Loot Crate exclusive, a Batman Endgame 36 comic Loot Crate. So apparently, for you comic exclusive people, there's quite a bit to look for, or just go like for $10, buy it off of eBay. So, how much is Loot Crate a month?
Isn't it like $25 a month? It should say on there.
So people are selling Star Wars 1 anywhere from $6 to $10. Few people are just starting it at $99. So if you get yours and it's something you don't like right away, like most eBay things, you could probably throw it on eBay and sell it as fast as you possibly can.
Let's see. I'm taking a look. It's $13.95 a month with $6 shipping and handling, so it ends up being $20.
Okay. Here's the new listing for Orphan Black.
Orphan Black.
An exclusive comic variant with Loot Crate.
Yeah, I read the first issue of Orphan Black, and it was just an adaptation of the first episode of the TV show. So
in addition to Midtown Comics, Mile High Comics, GameStop, I've went to GameStop several times. I've never seen their exclusive comics there. All the other comic shops, well, if they don't have it out, I'm not going to deal with it. Either that or some guy just bought them all, selling them on eBay. But, I mean, it's just another comic exclusive to get people going. Although I like your idea of, for Bravest Warriors number 1, that's an awful lot of exposure.
Yeah. But I wonder if those people will read it and then go to the shop or figure out some way to buy the second issue. Because I know Orphan Black, again, 500,000 copies, but you look at where it's selling now, and it's kind of selling at the regular level of a TV adaptation. Mm-hmm. So there doesn't seem to be much of a bounce. But still, you sell 500,000 copies of your comic, that's enough to keep the lights on for a while.
I'm just browsing through eBay here, and so far those seem to be the comics so far.
Yeah, the what? And our pal David Watkins.
Rocket Raccoon variant too.
Yeah. Our pal David Watkins has care packs, which is basically $25 for a big box of really cool snacks, and he just throws in random comics. He doesn't put a deal together with the publishers because he's, not big enough to. And when I got the box that we got, it was like, he just kind of threw in some stuff from his collection. He's just getting rid of it. But, hey.
Yeah, but you ate it all.
Not all of it.
Bastard.
My son ate some of it.
Uh-huh.
cat played with some of it. I still have a couple things that I'm scared to eat.
Cats like the box.
Yeah, pretty much. She likes sitting in the box and staring at me. And before we get into the meat of this week's episode, Joe, I have a question.
Just one?
Yeah. You know Transformers, right?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay, is there a gay Transformer?
Well, considering there's male and female, possible.
Because if there is, I have his theme song.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
No, hang on. Not yet. Okay, I'm ready.
Transformers, robots in the sky. The crickets liked it.
Oh, hang on a second.
You're listening to another show, aren't you?
No, something popped up. A Slim Fast commercial popped up. Well, we're getting all sorts of plugs in here, but we're not getting... I'm sorry, if it ain't Randy Macho Man Savage, I don't care, brother.
So what I was thinking about this week, because I finally had some time to read some funny books, and I was going through and I was picking out what comics I read first. You know, what do I read first? What's the things where I go, ooh, I got to read that right now? And I thought, well, you know, we haven't done any comic recommendations in a while, and our readers, our listeners, our fans, our followers, our buddies, our pals, you do know if you listen to this episode, you are officially one of our pals, right?
Yes.
They want to know what comics are worth putting the money on the counter for and taking home and spending their hard-earned time, their hard-earned free time reading. So I thought what I would do is come up with a list of the 10 comics that I like the best right now. And I asked Joe, and he said, I don't like comics.
No, Joe said this is really not a very topical idea because most of the comics I like right now are not being published due to Convergence and Secret Wars.
But there's indie books.
But a lot of those, they aren't even published regularly. To me, if you come in and you say, what are the things that you would want to read? I think, you know, and it's, the question was, are you talking what you could go get a graphic novel on and read right away, which opens it up to all sorts of older stuff like Cerebus and Watchmen and, you know, the type of things everybody talks about, you know, the best of the best.
When Box Day happens and you open it up, what are the books that you go, ooh, I got to read that right now?
See, and even that changes too, because with Secret Wars and Convergence, a lot of that didn't happen. And even with Image, some of the books I like from Image don't publish monthly. So again, I was trying to wrap my brain around something that you could go right now and go buy a copy off the shelf. And as I went through the list and I crossed off different things, I came up with about 9.
Okay. I came up with 30 and then crossed it down to 10.
Yeah. Like I said, the thing that got me was like a lot of the things that I really like just aren't being published during the Secret Wars event, or they stopped because of Convergence. I have no idea if they're starting up again. And if they did, I might have just decided to drop it. So it was a little more critical. But then the way you said it, you know, Box Day, and that's what I do. I go through, make sure I got everything. And so far, they're 100% on everything that I ordered. I got, you know, some go into a pile. This is a mini series that I'm going to wait till gather up later. Some go, okay, I've spent 8 issues. I'll wait till I get all 8 issues together. Some are one shots. Some are things I just probably want to flip on eBay right away. But then there is that pile of things that I just want to sit down and just enjoy. So that's what I was that's how I made the list.
Okay.
I checked it twice. I found out which ones were naughty and nice. I made sure they didn't have a book. Every day they had the book. Oops, sorry, I'm talking in song lyrics again. Sorry.
Yeah, now you're channeling Elvis Costello.
Every day
Not that there's anything wrong with
you. Back on topic.
Were you a huge Elvis Costello fan?
Stay on topic.
I'm asking the question.
I found out I liked more of his songs than I knew, because a lot of the songs I knew, due to non-back selling of radio stations, I didn't realize it was him.
I remember when he was on Saturday Night Live, and it was when the whole punk thing was bubbling up, and really the only punk band you ever heard of back then was the Sex Pistols, who were terrible. But they said, and Elvis Costello's going to be on Saturday Night Live. It's like, he's one of those punk guys. And I watched it, and it was like, that's the music I want. I want that music. That music is what I want to listen to. Why don't they ever play that on the radio? And huge Elvis Costello fan. Have still not been able to see him in concert, though.
We got an all-new gay radio channel.
We do?
Yeah. Apparently there is one in town now.
Oh.
A lot of club mix.
I wouldn't know a radio station in the Twin Cities if it came up, knocked on my door, and asked for money. I love me my satellite radio. My comic list, however, is in absolutely no order whatsoever.
Mine actually ended up in some type of order. So
I will start, because I have 10 and you have 9.
That's the story of my life.
First one on my list is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. It's science fantasy, because it's not science fiction, because there are dragons and cats and things like that. But it's also got spaceships and a space war and all this stuff. So it's science fantasy that really works for me. It's set somewhere else with a large interstellar war going on. 2 former soldiers from opposite sides fall in love, have a child, and are on the run, because both sides want them dead, and they especially want the child dead. Along the way, they meet aliens, bounty hunters, royal androids, Lion Cat, which is my favorite comic book character right now. I love Lion Cat. Lion Cat is a character who looks like a cat, and if you tell a lie, it just says, lying. And that's the only dialogue it has. I want a Lion Cat. The thing that I love about it, it's very human and relatable, because it's about people trying to have a life during crisis. It's a romance, but it's not all sappy love stuff. There's drug addiction. There are people who get depressed and ruin their lives through the depression. The characters all feel very real and very relatable, and I'm amazed that it's only on issue 29, because it feels like it's this huge, epic story that's been going for years. And I just simply love the book. I love the book so much. Joe?
Well, my number 9 is Star Wars, which we kind of alluded to earlier. I've really, really enjoyed the 3 Star Wars comics so far. The Darth Vader one a little bit more than I thought I would. It's always hard to make someone who's, basically a child killer, whiner, has no idea his offspring's out there. But it's been fun. I haven't read the 4th one, and I know there's a Lando, miniseries coming up that I'll be picking up. So the question I got to decide is, do I want to keep reading the monthlies or veer off and wait for the graphic novels? But I think with these, I probably will stick with the monthlies. They come out of the box. I just put them right on the top. The writer's got a good beat on the characters. The art's good, where it's not distracting, like when Carmen Infantino used to do the old Marvel ones. It was like, I swear that guy used a T to do Han's jawline. Plus the fact is, between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back in the Marvel original series, they never changed their clothes. Phew. At least in this one, they're changing their clothes a bit. So it should be fun. I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to go with it. How long are they going to stick in this period? Are they stuck there indefinitely, or will we eventually get to Empire Strikes Back? It was, what was it, 3 years between movies? So, you go any longer than that.
The first one, it was 4 years.
4 years? So
yeah, because it was, no, wait, was it 1980 or 81?
well, I saw it.
Because
No,
Star Wars was 77.
yeah, and then I was a freshman in high school, so that would have been like 80.
Okay, so it was 3 years.
Yeah. Because
I didn't realize they
83 was
planned it
Return
so
of the
well.
Jedi. I saw that was
Yeah,
my choice. I had to decide whether I was going to stay and graduate or go to the opening show.
and you went to the opening show, right?
No, I should have, but I didn't.
I have no respect for you
I
whatsoever.
went to Star Trek the first opening, and I remember falling asleep in it. So, besides that night, I got to sleep with a hot redhead. So what do I care?
Hey now.
All right. So Star Wars, definitely. And I'm cheating because it's 3 titles with the fourth one I don't read.
Okay. My next book is a book that I've talked about a lot over the course of this podcast, and I still like it, even though it has done one of those huge shifts, and that's The Walking Dead. I still Walking Dead. The week it comes out, I gotta read it first thing. It's not a comic about the zombies. It's a comic about people trying to survive in a world that's fallen apart. And it's been going for over a decade. It's a hit TV show. The trade paperbacks are now the best-selling line of trade paperbacks ever. They have outsold the Sandman trade paperbacks. And people tend to take it for granted, I think. You know, the sales are up there. You don't hear many people talking about it now. The switch they did after All Out War has just been fascinating. And they've been doing a slow build because you know issue 150 is coming, and you know when they get to a round number, horrible, horrible, horrible things happen. But it's become very psychological over the last year or so because they're building a new type of civilization. Because I think Kirkman knows you can't have your characters always on the run, or it gets stale. So I really enjoy Walking Dead. If you haven't read it, pick up the first trade paperback. It's better than you think. It's not just a horror comic.
For me, the next one is Savage Dragon. I've enjoyed this since the beginning. What I absolutely love about it is that it's still Eric Larson's baby. You don't like Eric Larson, you never ever have to pick up Savage Dragon. You enjoy him. You enjoy his art style, his storytelling. It's just a lot of fun. He's willing to let the characters age. Characters die off. When they're dead, they're dead. You never know which direction he's going to go. He'll experiment with different things. He's got an awesome letter page. And I think with the exception of one issue, he's already beyond 200. I actually had a lot of fun, too, digging up all the different variants because I didn't realize he had done variants. Some of them were.
Everyone does variants.
Yeah, he doesn't really make a big deal out of them. He just kind of. Some of them are just like free comic book day variants. Speaking of which, I believe the last free comic book day had a Savage Dragon giveaway. So if you want to go give one a shot, there's your opening. And I think what I like about Savage Dragon the most is the fact that it's Eric's baby. It's his business, his and his alone. I feel like when I buy his comic, I'm giving him the money direct. There's been times where I've kind of fallen away from it, and then I'll come back and see where he's going. But I think as long as he publishes it and he wants it, I will continue to buy it from him. And I've enjoyed the ride quite a bit. I mean, you can't really... I don't know, you can probably pick him up cheap. He's got a few graphic novels out that covers a lot of the reprints. Done a lot of fun crossovers. So if you want to stick with the creator and make sure you know the creator is going to give you what you like, you know, Eric's almost a poster child of doing it.
Next on my list is Daredevil. Mark Waid, back in the 90s, kind of fought against the whole grim and gritty tide when he took over the Flash. He didn't fall into making everything dark and depressing. He kind of made the Wally West Flash was one of those books that people kind of liked. Mark Waid took it over and just built a huge audience for it, to the point where I would say about halfway through his run, Wally West was the Flash that people wanted to read. And now he's doing Daredevil. He has taken Daredevil away from its being very dark and very gritty and very depressing. And while he hasn't lost the fact that the stories are serious and important things happen and there's drama, but he's also infused that early Stan Lee goofiness by making the character a swashbuckler again. He's an adventurer. He fights crime because he likes to do it. He's changed the book when it needs to be changed, and I'm kind of sad that he's stepping away from it after sometime this year. The art is this wonderful minimalist art that isn't over-rendered, and it fits the acrobatic style of the character. It's always a lot of fun to read. And the cool thing is that even with him making it less, oh my God, everything's terrible, he'll still address very serious subjects. He recently did a story about Daredevil's mother, who had gone away and become a nun. And really all we knew before Frank Miller was that she had gone away. We didn't even know if she had died or not. Miller did the story that kind of set up that, no, she went away and is a nun now. And he did a story about postpartum depression that really sort of turned a lot of the stuff that they'd done with Daredevil's relationship with his father on its ear without destroying it. So Mark Waid can do no wrong in superhero books, to my eyes. I've never read a Mark Waid superhero book that I haven't liked. He's always good at honoring the past, but driving toward the future.
Now, for me, the next one is one of those lines that has stopped. But I'm going to talk about it because I've been an Avenger fan since issue 200 of the original run. And I've picked it up off and on. I became a big fan of it when Kurt Busiek took it over and his incredible run. I followed the Avengers Disassembled, and then, of course, when Bendis got a hold of it, that was one hell of a ride. And now Hickman's taking us on a wild ride, and we're right in the middle of the grand finale with Secret Wars, which is going to be delayed. Con! So I've enjoyed it. It's kind of a cheat because I don't know who's taking it over now, but it'll be kind of interesting to see. I mean, they keep going up and up and up. I don't envy the person that's going to pick up the Avenger line after what Hickman's been doing it and who did it before Bendis. But we'll see what happens in, what was it, 8 months? Now 9 months, 10 months? And we got a year or so before Secret Wars is over to figure it out.
By the way, you do know who's taking over the main Avengers book when Secret Wars is over, right?
No.
You didn't read your Free Comic Book Day issue?
I don't think I did.
That was written by Mark Waid?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The next one on my list. The next one on my list, Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
I don't care if they haven't put out an issue in almost a year. It's not over. And as long as it's not over, it's still a current comic. Matt Fraction and David Aja have made a modern classic. When this thing is collected in an omnibus, collected in trade paperbacks, I believe this is a book that people will go back to over and over and over and over. I ordered the omnibus the second it was available, man. Matt Fraction's known for doing really big stuff, for doing stories about time travel and alternate universes and really sort of mind-bending concepts, which is why it really surprised me that Hawkeye is about kind of the Avengers' regular guy the guy who doesn't have any superpowers and really is kind of a screw up in his personal life. And it's really, really good, but also there are issues where David Aja's sense of design of a comic and the way he uses the page and the panel layouts to tell the story, he does stuff that you can't do in a movie. You can't juxtapose images the way he does in a movie. He can do things that aren't linear but work on the comic page. And I always point people to issue 11. If you know comics at all and you want to see how you can just use the form to tell stories that are impossible in any other medium, the pizza dog issue, where the entire issue is told from the point of view of Hawkeye's pet dog. Using visual, using the fact that he doesn't understand dialogue, but he knows his name, he knows certain words. It's just a beautiful, beautiful single issue that you could read all on its own. But if you read it in the context of the series, it's a very pivotal issue where a lot of things change. That took balls, man. That took balls. And it's so good. If you have not read Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye, go read it. You will love it.
The next one for me, S.H.I.E.L.D., the current version. And I'll even go back to the previous version, which kind of just disappeared off the Netherverse.
We keep being told it'll be finished. It's probably going to be finished after the last issue of Hawkeye.
Because the early S.H.I.E.L.D. ones, and this was just a couple of years ago, I think you turned me on to, Cory, because it was kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D. in the past and how they dealt with, what was it, Galactus arriving and things like that. The current S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of goes and takes Agent Coulson and makes him kind of, what would you call it? He's kind of like the all-knowing factoid guy. And he's the one who's running, trying to get different S.H.I.E.L.D. people together, trying to get the right superheroes involved to go out and deal with whatever the current threat is. And the issues have been interrupted because of Secret Wars. I'm assuming they're going to continue because they were really good. And it was just kind of fun because just because he puts together the right team doesn't mean things are going to go the way he wants. And, of course, that's what makes it kind of fun. And it's always been somebody like that. The fact that he's not a superhero, he's just a normal schmuck, makes it interesting because he can't do it himself. He's got to find the team together to do it. I know Marvel's tried this before. They had the Secret Defenders where it was Doctor Strange putting everybody together. But this one's actually kind of fun because it takes the character, takes a little bit out of what we know on the TV show and twists it around for the comic world.
The next comic I have is not an ongoing comic, but a creative team that's been doing comics together since 2006. I love anything by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They started together, I think it was on a book called Sleeper over at DC, which actually was part of the Wildstorm line and a Wildcat spinoff of all things, of a superhero who went undercover in a group of villains. They then went over to Marvel, and they worked on Captain America, and they had a creator-owned comic called Criminal, which if you listen to the show, you've heard me go on and on and on about how much I love Criminal. Then they've gone over to Image, and they've done a series called Fatale, and now they're doing a series called Velvet. Whatever they are working on, I am going to buy it. Whatever they are doing together, I am going to praise. I have yet to read an issue by them or a series by them that's a stinker. They're an incredible team. They combine darkness, crime stories, and Phillips's very strong yet dark art style to create comics that they stay with you for days after you read them. You probably haven't read Fatale yet, but Fatale, each of the trade paperbacks, they kind of read on their own, but they build. So after each one, you're you feel like you've been punched. And then you get to the very end and it's like, holy crap. It was all planned. He had it all laid out from the beginning, and it's still just a gut punch when you get to it. Criminal's the same way. Each trade paperback was great. Cannot recommend these guys enough. If you see Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips working on a book, don't ask, just buy it, like Kirby said.
For me, the next one, Astro City. It's gone through lots of publishers, but again, it's a creator-owned book. It's one of the few books that, even though it's being published actually almost monthly right now through the DC Vertigo line, you have to get the first issue, which you can they're republishing the out-of-print graphic novels from the first ones, because little things that he drops in early issues pay off later on down the road. The one I've said before on the podcast, and if you want to think of it as a spoiler warning, please do. Everything is kind of an archetype. You've got Samaritan, which is kind of like the Superman archetype. You've got Winged Victory, which is the Wonder Woman archetype. And then there's a person called the Confessor. Oddly enough, there's no known pictures of the Confessor. When we finally do meet the Confessor, he's out kind of looking for a sidekick. And through the course of the storyline, the sidekick discovers that the Confessor is a vampire. Now, if you tie that into what you read earlier, that, oh, no known picture, of course, that makes sense. And then, of course, the newest graphic novel just came out, has the sidekick who is now the Confessor, and it kind of builds up to the fact that this is kind of the first meeting of the Samaritan and Winged Victory and the Confessor, which is kind of like the big three meeting at DC. And all those little bits that you know from reading the previous storyline come into play currently. It's a fantastic series. And whether you read the graphic novels, whether you're hardcore and you're going to pick up all the issues, you don't want to miss one. And I periodically pull the entire run down and I just reread it because, again, I'll be picking up little clues that he drops. It could be something like just a book in the window. It could be something in your face. It's just a fantastic series. And the fact that it's going monthly now is fantastic because he's got a whole world out there. And when they design the characters, they design them so they're believable, they're organic. And it's just a blast. So give yourself a treat. Pick up that first Astro City graphic novel and then just, like I said, figure them out, read them sequentially, and you'll enjoy the ride. Especially if you're obviously listening to us, you got to be a big superhero fan. So
next one on my list is a book Joe actually has already talked about in a way. Secret Wars. Yes, it's an event comic. And event comics people usually, I don't know what it is about us, but even no matter what the event, people are like, oh, I hate event comics. And yet they're still the best-selling books that come out. Secret Wars is an event, but the ideas in it are big as well. The characters are being handled really well. The concept is big and fun and exciting. And Isak Ribick's art is phenomenal. I know he's done other stuff before, but I remember him from Jason Aaron's Thor. And each issue looked like a painting. His art was just that beautiful. And now on Secret Wars, he does something that very few artists could do. There's a bajillion characters. There's a lot going on, and he makes it feel you can follow it. It's not just crowd scene after crowd scene after crowd scene after crowd scene. The characters all look different. You can tell who they are the minute he does them. They don't just have different costumes, but they fit, and it tells the story beautifully. Hickman has always been someone who's brilliant with design. The design of Secret Wars, the way the pages are not just set up, but the way the book is set up, the planning that went into it. Secret Wars is probably, if they are able to spike the ending, it could be my favorite event story ever.
For me, one that currently on a 2-month pause, would just start up again, Justice League. Of all the new 52 titles, this is the one that I think I've enjoyed the most, just because it was pretty much everybody. It's starting to wind up into the Darkseid Anti-Monitor War, which is something that they've been alluding to almost the entire time. And I've geeked on it before with the free comic book day thing that they gave out. And I think, what are we on? Issue 42, 41, 42. So it's like a lot of action packed in one comic. It gives you good helpings of everybody. The other runs I've liked on Justice League, I really loved Grant Morrison's run when he did it. And then as I went back, Justice League was kind of the first DC comic that I really got myself into. It was about the time, I don't even know who was writing it. New Zatanna showed up in leather as opposed to her fishnet stocking. And I just kind of floated with it. You know, the early ones were fun because, you know, at 12 years old, it was like, oh, these are all the big superheroes. Yeah. But recently, like I said, the Justice League line, I've well, let me re-say that. Just Justice League. The other lines, the Dark, the America, I haven't enjoyed as much as this one. I think it's just because this one seems to be the linchpin of the DC universe, and that's what it should be. So I'm kind of eager to see where they're going to wind up with this, if it's coming up to another event or if we're just going to see it just play out in Justice League itself. And that's really the only DC regular comic that I'm buying.
Yeah, I don't have any DCs on my list, which 5 years ago I would have said was crazy, but Grant Morrison's not writing for him anymore. Oh, is that why I don't have a favorite DC book anymore?
And I don't really count Astro City that way because it's just being published there. I mean, it started in Image, but it's at least found a home.
The next one I have are two books that I'm combining as one because they're pretty much the same book, and that is the new Creepy and Eerie Dark Horse is doing. They are horror anthologies. They are black and white. They are so much like the original Creepy and Eerie during its better periods. I think any of these stories would have been published in those magazines, and they wouldn't have stuck out. You get a great mix of classic artists and new artists. You get Angelo Torres is still doing stuff for him. Angelo Torres, who worked for the original Creepy and Eerie and worked for Mad Magazine and has been around forever. His horror work in this has been phenomenal. You're getting new stories drawn by Kelly Jones, who's an artist we need to see more of. And the thing that I like that they're doing, they're not doing the serialized stories that Creepy and Eerie did in the 70s. These are just short horror stories. It's a short horror anthology. It's a great book you can pick up and you can read, and you don't have to scramble to read back issues or remember what's going on. I love anthology books, and it's kind of sad that nobody does them much anymore. But Creepy and Eerie, you can just buy a single issue, read it on its own, and you're going to be entertained. Good old horror that's not aping EC. It's not all twist endings and stuff. It's different kinds of horror.
Growing up in the 80s, one of my favorite franchises was X-Men. Growing up in the 90s, I dropped it like a hot potato. Owning a comic store in the 90s is when I dropped it. When Bendis got on X-Men and All New X-Men after getting off Avengers, I was along for the ride, and it's been a really fantastic ride. I don't even know where it's going to end up because, like Secret Wars, we got to wait till October. And I've just enjoyed his take on it. I've enjoyed the way he's kind of gone back and tied in not only the current cluster that is the X-Men, but bringing forward the original X-Men and how they interchanged. And again, all of his stuff, they just seem to flow. Like when Magneto went off into his own series, same thing with Cyclops, and then he come back, and they kind of rendezvoused into the Ultimate Universe and back. And it's just, he has just a smooth way of doing it. I've really enjoyed it. I hate to see it end. And I imagine when we do this next year, I'll be saying the same thing about Iron Man, because he's probably the only guy who could get me to pick up an Iron Man comic right now. I don't care where Bendis goes. I will just stick with him because his payoffs are always great. I loved his Avenger run. I've loved the X-Men run, and I'm looking forward to the Iron Man run. Again, not being published, but what you're going to do in Secret Wars. What you're going to do in Secret Wars is all over you, brother.
So is this a case of I will follow you into the dark, or just I will follow you?
I will follow you. So, because I can't envision how he's going to make Iron Man into 2 or 3 different books.
My next book on the list is Thor. Even before the female Thor, Jason Aaron was doing this wonderful, wonderful series of stories that dealt with the fact that Thor is a god with a massive history. That first 12 issues, the God Destroyer, where you had young Thor's first battle with him, current Thor's dealings with him, and then old Thor when Asgard has been destroyed, and you get Thor, basically old Thor and his 3 daughters. It was so much fun and so exciting, and he really went from Thor as a superhero to Thor as a god, and dealing with what we'd seen in previous stories about Thor when he was a young god, being very arrogant and demanding tribute and having to learn humility, and has just spun so many stories out of it. And I know that with the current female Thor, there's a lot of attention and focus. But it all comes from the stuff he was building up before this. It wasn't sales are bad, let's make Thor a girl.
Mm-hmm.
It was, nope. He set the seeds for that early on. And his run on Thor has just been amazing. It's one of those runs that when it's done, it's going to be one of those classic runs, much like Walt Simonson's run on Thor or John Byrne's run on the Fantastic Four. It's going to be, or Miller on Daredevil, it's going to be the template for how the character is done from now on. And the art, oh my God, the art is so beautiful.
Here's where I started breaking down, because it was kind of like, well, what do I want to cover next? I mean, do I want to cover Empire by Mark Waid that's back, because it was a miniseries. It was a graphic novel, which I reread till it fell apart. Now it's another miniseries. Do I want to do Gru, which has been done forever by Avanier and Argonis? Yeah, I mean, I laugh because you can pick up any issue of Gru and pretty much just reread it over and over because it's the same jokes. Do I want to pick Chew from Image? But I went with Knights of the Dinner Table. And I've gabbed about this one before because it's such a unique book. The art is, well, even the creator would say not the best, but it's amazing that they can draw panel after panel of friends sitting around a table playing essentially what's Hackmaster, which is their version of Dungeons and Dragons. And it draws me in on so many different levels. It draws me in the dynamics of the 5 people at the gaming table, the story that they're playing out as their characters, the world that they inhabit, going to different game stores, going to I think it's just the big one, Weird Pete's, or going to GaryCon, or going against another thing, or gaming group, or convention, or whatever. I actually been around since issue 1. I dropped it for a while because I couldn't find it. And it's one of the books right now that is like the first thing I read. I read through the comics, and then I'll reread the issue because there's a lot of other stuff going in there about gaming, about comics, about adapting comics and movies into your game. Considering I'm not an active gamer anymore, it's amazing that I still stick with this, but I just absolutely love Knights of the Dinner Table. And, of course, if you don't want to pick up the issues because they, like I said, it's about half comic, half gaming world and other things, you can always pick up the collections. They're about 5 years from where they are now, and they just republish it and go forward. So you can pick up the collections that way if you want. Does a lot of stuff online as well. Of all the comics I read, that's probably the first one I'll read as I pull out of the books. But that's not the number one for me. We'll get to that in a bit.
I have Gru on my list too, and they're doing a 12-issue series called Gru Friends and Foes, which is basically going to revisit all of the characters. And what I hope is that this isn't kind of a victory lap that, hey, this is probably the last Gru story we'll do, so let's do a Gruella story, let's do a minstrel story, let's do a sage story, I hope it's just, okay, we're going to do where we're, having fun with all the characters, and then there'll be another mini-series. While the joke is that Gru always tells the same jokes, it's the thing that sets it apart is Aragones' art. This is the perfect showcase for his cartoonish yet unbelievably detailed art. When he does his double-page spreads, most double-page spreads, it's like, oh, wow, that's a big panel, and you turn the page. With Aragones, you're going to spend 15 minutes just looking at all the little background gags he does, and each of the tiny characters, as long as you can make them out, is doing something. It's not a crowd scene where it's just, oh, here's a figure, here's a figure, here's a figure. He draws crowd scenes where everyone is doing something. And Mark Evanier has said that the only person who was faster than Jack Kirby at drawing was Sergio Aragones. This is just so much fun. And yes, it's when Gru steps on a ship, the ship is going to sink, and it's going to sink at the worst possible moment. But they're going to figure out where is the funniest time for that to happen. Or if Gru is involved with soldiers, eventually he's going to fight his own side. It's when is it going to be the funniest time for that to happen? And while the letters pages aren't as fun and funny as they used to be because people don't write letters anymore, the letters pages are still a lot of fun. Mark Evanier still regrets today he made a running joke out of mulch. Because through the 80s, people would mail it to him. And there's one joke in Gru that I use every so often, and I still enjoy it, and I don't care if anybody laughs or not, where someone will ask Gru, are you slow of mind? And then pages later, Gru will turn and go, did you call me slow of mind? What I hope is that they do Gru omnibuses. Dark Horse is really good at doing the big omnibuses, or they're smaller, but they're really thick, and they reprint like 15 to 20 issues in color for $25. They should just start doing that with Gru, because the problem with the Gru paperbacks is that they're $12.95, but they only reprint 4 issues. I wish they'd just, we're going to put them in the big, thick omnibuses. Oh, just yes. Read them and enjoy.
Because the longest time they ran was a regular series out of the Epic line.
Yep, 120 issues. Because they had I think it was like a 2-year contract, and they renewed it 5 times. And then after they ended at Marvel, because the sales weren't as good as they used to be. And Evanier says that the reason they signed with Marvel, and they were happy to get into the Epic line because Sergio would only do it if he owned it. Mm-hmm. But they signed with Marvel to get newsstand distribution. Same with ElfQuest. They reprinted ElfQuest so they could get them on the newsstands. And once newsstand sales collapsed, Gru never did very well in comic shops. So they went to Image, and they didn't do that well. They've been at Dark Horse, and while they've done well enough to continue, you still look at the sales, and it's really disappointing. It's a comic that everyone would enjoy. Joe, what's your last book?
My number one. I've been collecting it. It's what started me on the road that led to collecting comics, keeping comics, selling comics, owning a comic store, meeting Cory, doing podcasts, and I'm still buying it, and I probably will continue buying it. Amazing Spider-Man.
Zap, number one?
No. I was gonna say Bizarre Sex, but that hasn't been published since the 70s. No, Amazing Spider-Man is it. The first one was 178. Still got it. I think, what did I grade it at? A 7.8. I actually had it slabbed because it's more of a memento to me than a book that I'm going to take down and reread, because I can always find another copy. I might even have it in the Essential line.
Here, have a pimento.
Yes,
as a memento.
A memento pimento. That's kind of mental. Amazing Spider-Man is just one I'll probably stick with. Very, very least Amazing Spider-Man. I tend to like to veer off and see what's going on when he appears in other books. I loved it when he was in the Avengers finally. And from the beginning, when he was just kind of a dorky high school kid, through the Gwen Stacy years, through the, when he lived in sin with Mary Jane, why they'd never got married, I'll never know. And rumor had it they had a kid, but I don't know if that ever happened or not.
Yes, it did. You can read about it in Spider-Man Now.
And I think Mary Jane died in a plane crash, and then they made a deal with the devil, and they got better. But it's just been a lot of fun. And the current writer, I believe, it's Slott again, isn't it? Who's writing Spider-Man?
Yes, Dan Slott is still writing it, although he says that after this miniseries set in the Secret Wars world, he can't announce who will be writing Spider-Man.
Ooh, that ought to be fun. So that'll keep me going. I try not to get too crazy. I mean, the last time I think I read some of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that Peter David did before the infamous Devil deal. So there's always one-shots here and there to read. I've got them all in essential form, so I can pretty much read anything I want. But Amazing Spider-Man was always the one that started it, and I think, like I said, with Savage Dragon, I buy it just because Eric's doing it, and I do enjoy it. Amazing Spider-Man will be just one of those that, you're not reading it. Why are you picking it up? Nostalgia. Why not? Cory, what's your top comic?
It's not my top comic, but it's the last one on my list, and that is Miracle Man. Yes, it's a reprint. I understand that. But if you haven't read it, it's new to you. And don't tell me that, I read... No, it's been out of print for 20-some years.
Oh, hell yeah.
Alan Moore, this is his best superhero story. I know that people love Watchmen. Watchmen was unbelievably good, but it had a flawed ending. There were flaws to the story. Miracle Man is perfect all the way through. It starts with the simple premise, and it is the first story of this is a superhero, how superheroes would be in the real world. The good, the bad, the horrific, the nightmarish. This is Moore's vision of what he felt superheroes would be in the real world. And the thing is, people said, he must hate superheroes. No, he's a science fiction author. He's extrapolating what would happen. Then, after that, Neil Gaiman comes in. And we're finally going to get the ending of that story. But Neil Gaiman comes in, and with the same character, without invalidating anything, does a 180 and completely changes how the story is told. And what I'm hoping is that after Neil Gaiman, someone else comes in and does the same thing. Picks up, twists things, and tells an all new type of story. But if you've never read Watchmen, and you're someone who, I've read V for Vendetta, I've read Swamp Thing, I read Supreme, and you haven't read Miracle Man, you need to pick up the trades or buy the comics and read it. The art is off the chain amazing through the entire run. The writing is Moore's best writing. I don't think he ever did anything better. And that's saying a lot because he's written some great stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the Neil Gaiman stuff because, quite honestly, I don't remember his story other than bits and pieces. And it was before Neil Gaiman was writing Sandman. So there you go. There's my 10 and Joe's 9.
Woohoo!
You know who else has a list?
Who's that?
These guys, our sponsors. You may not be able to join the mighty Marvel Marching Society anymore, or even the Friends of Old Marvel, but you can visit our sponsors. Our oldest sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. If you need a website, go to DreamHost.com. They will take care of you as they've been taking care of me for over 15 years. If you use the code CRAYZ, that's Krayz, you get $20 off your first year of hosting. If you are listening to this podcast, you are very good looking. That's right. As a good looking person, you can't trust your skin to any old razor. That's why you need to shave with the amazing razors you can get delivered from the Dollar Shave Club. Every month they send a box with your shaving supplies. At the beginning of the week, or whenever you want, you pop in a fresh blade and get that fresh blade shave. It feels fantastic, and it's just one of the many, many ways that you can maintain the good looks that everyone has come to expect from you. And if you join us at the Dollar Shave Club, their plans start at just $3 a month. They have a money-back guarantee, and there is no excuse for you to ever use any other razor. So just go to dollarshaveclub.com/crazy, Krayz, to get started. One of the things you need to do this year, you need to get healthy. We all need to be healthy so we can all hang out a lot longer. And one of the ways to get healthy is not to go down to the vending machine and buy those chips or those candy bars or any of the other vending machine snacks. You want healthy snacks picked out by actual chefs who know what they're doing, and you can do that at graze.com. And if you use the code Cory S3R5P, your first and fifth box are free, so you can try it out. See if that's the kind of stuff you like. That's Cory S3R5P. Our final sponsor is Worldwide News. Worldwide News is the story of the lowest rated cable news network and the people who work there. It is updated twice a week by writer Corey Strode. Hey, that's me! And artist Dangerous Dan Moore. Worldwide News at worldwidenews.solitairerose.com, part of the Solitaire Rose family of websites. If you would like to contact us, there are a whole bunch of ways. You can email us at cory.strode@gmail.com. You can give us a call. We have a voice line that is open at all times at 952-856-0519, or you could go to Facebook and join the Crazy Comics and Stuff fan page. If you would like to advertise on Crazy Comics and Stories or on Solitaire Rose Radio, you can. Just send me an email at cory.strode@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks.
Outstanding.
Yeah, we've gone over an hour, so I guess we're going to have to hold the Tales from the Shop and hanging at the home till next week because we've done a lot. And you said that you'd been eBaying, right?
Oh, yeah. And I figured it's a good time just to plug because it's kind of interesting because Cory and I usually record Tuesday, Wednesday. My days off are Tuesday, Wednesday. I put stuff on eBay Tuesday, Wednesday. So it occurred to me a lot of times when I'm telling you about all these great things that I put on eBay, it's either too late for you, the readers and listeners. Readers, listeners, it's all the same.
I hope people are reading the podcast.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Closed caption, wherever available. By the time you get to eBay, it's like the good things I've been talking about are either sold or they're almost sold, or maybe they haven't sold and you're going to jump in. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to jump in, especially since I've, in the last couple of days, put in over like 50 items on eBay, and I don't really want to sit down and list every single one. If you are interested, check me out on eBay under Crazy, Krayz. If you do win, let me know, and I'll do something nice. I don't know if it'll be free shipping, if I'll grab something out of my pile of stuff and add it to you for no extra charge, or maybe give you something cool. A few of the things that are interesting, there's 3 different categories of things I'm putting on eBay right now. First,
animal, vegetable, and mineral?
Pretty close. MCBA goodies, my goodies, and 99-cent variants in comics. The MCBAs, we talked a bit about it over the last couple of weeks, where we've got this vast collection from our gold pal Nick, and I'm going through it. A lot of the stuff's going to go back to our charity booth when it rolls around next year, but some of the stuff, it's pretty nice stuff I'm going to put up on eBay. We've kind of referred to some of it, but like here I've got 5 here that'll be put up probably in the next couple of days. I've got a chrome variant Sailor Moon 11. This thing's like a $50 variant. And what I'm planning on doing is, like, I'll put it in for half price. I'll buy it now at $50, and if somebody's interested, great. I've got the Batman and Robin retailer sketch edition cover that Frank Miller and Jim Lee done did. This one's kind of interesting. There's a book called Asylum, John Carpenter's Asylum. And this particular issue I've got was actually signed by John Carpenter. And then I've got assorted black and white variant sketch covers. So all that stuff that I put up for MCBA will actually be noted MCBA. And 100% of what I raise for those guys will go right to them, and then they use it however they can. They use it to either get the next show going, donates the extra to charity, whatever they do with it, that's fine. The other pile of things I put up are usually, I don't know how you say it, they're not expensive things, but they're things that have a little heat. Like I've got a bunch of variants from Amazing Spider-Man #1. The Cobra variant, which was a retailer organization that was forming right when I sold Hot Comics. And I think I don't know what they've done lately. I've got a couple of discount comic book service variants, a couple of variants that go all the way back to the One More Day thing. Every so often I'll put something interesting on, like Holly stopped reading Harley Quinn, so I put on a set 1 through 9, and plus the 0 issue to see what they're going. So I'll put in different things like that, and then my favorite are the 99-cent variants or comics, where I just take a comic and for whatever reason start it at 99 cents and let it go. Most everything I'll put a buy it now on, maybe not more than cover price, and just kind of have some fun with it. Lately, I did put one odd thing in. Holly came down with a Soul Eater Death the Kid wig. Are you familiar with this property, Corey?
No.
Neither am I. But apparently she bought the wig, and she was going to cosplay last Halloween with it, and never used it. So what I did is what I do like with the comics, I go on eBay, I see what they're priced at, anywhere from $6 to $20. So I started it at 99 cents, buy it now $5. And that's pretty much what I do with the comics. So if you're looking for a cheap comic, or you want to take a quick read, or I don't know, whatever you want, it's all fun. It's there for you to check out. And again, let me know if you do win. Just send me a quick note, either through the eBay system or at crazycomics@gmail.com, and give you a little something extra special.
One other thing we'd like to plug, pal of the show and occasional guest on the show, Jen Wicked, is looking to fully support herself with her artwork.
And she does good artwork.
She does. Really some amazing work lately. Not just she does Sharpie drawings, she does more serious stuff. She also now has a drawing tablet where she does kind of quick, sketchy type things. Just go over to her webpage, jimwicked.com. You can get a commission. You can buy some of the comics that she brought up for the convention. You can become a patron. You can have her all sorts of stuff she's got for sale. Head on over, buy her stuff, and let her know that you heard about her on this here podcast, okay? You know what time it is, Joe?
I do.
It's time for Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I've had a really crappy day. I didn't plan for it that way. It was just one of those days where every little thing that could possibly go wrong went wrong. I hate the phrase first world problems, but that's essentially what it was. Because that implies that no matter what problem you have, it's never good enough because you're not in the third world. Well, I don't buy that. But it's just things like I turn on my laptop, and it's an old laptop. I've been traveling it with a while. But it takes 20 minutes for whatever's downloading into it to stop downloading and updating. I can't even use it. I got to the point where, like I said, I was doing a lot of eBaying. I had to stop doing it because I couldn't get a window to work. Everything froze. Yet the little download light keeps going and going and going. No idea what's downloading. I don't know if it's Chrome. I don't know if it's Norton's. I don't know if it's a virus protector. I don't know if it's a virus, you know. And, of course, 20 minutes later, it's fine. I went on my email, took forever to get on, had to change the password, only to find that most of the Kickstarters that I've supported that have gone through, they never got charged my credit card. So I'm getting all sorts of, hey, you got to pay, hey, we need your address, hey, this, hey, that, hey, the other. So I was, hey. So I spent time with that. It was hot. It was muggy.
My.
It's New Comic Book Day. After talking to my daughter yesterday, she was like, yeah, let's go out and do some stuff. And then I don't want to go today. I don't want to do anything. And it rained, and then I sat on the porch, thought I'd relax. I let the pet bunny run around. He jumps on my lap, promptly pees on my lap. So I knock him down, change my clothes, put him in the dryer, the washer, dryer. Come back out.
I was going to say, please don't put them in the dryer because that'll just make them smell worse.
And then the bunny jumps on me again, pees on me all over again. Second batch of clothes into the dryer. And this thing pees like a water balloon bursting, you know. And so it's not only that it gets on my shorts, it's in my shirt, it's in my underpants. Ugh. So then I'm sitting here with this here podcast, and I'm getting ready to go, and things are mellowing out, you know, feeling a little better. I get up to move, and I knock my head on the corner of this desk here. And I put a nice big gouge in my head. It didn't bleed, because that would have been cool, because then I could have taken pictures and put it on Facebook. You know, kind of like the type of bleed that, you know, hits your forehead and just goes all over your face. No, it just hurt like shit. And now tomorrow, since I shaved my head, people are going to go, oh, my God, what happened to your head? I said, well, I got clipped by a low-flying 747. Fuck, did that hurt? It was just one of those days. You know, I was trying to open a drawer. I couldn't get it open. I finally just, you know, burst it open. I hear a snap. Oh, there's something that I was after that broke now. Grr. Just little things pissing me off. As opposed to the big thing that's pissing me off, this is the third frickin' time the United States government has allowed someone to breach my personal data. I might as well just give it out for free.
Joe, we've been giving it out for free for 5 years now.
Yeah. I'm not having a good day. You know, it's like I went for a run, but I came back after 2 minutes because I forgot that I'm out of shape and can't run for more than 2 minutes. It's just not my day. Corey, what are you freaking on? What's got you honked off?
This weekend I had big plans. I was going to do a bunch of baking. And send cookies. Yes, I was going to send cookies and stuff to friends. I was going to attempt some really cool things.
Cool stuff.
Joe, I've never made biscotti. I was going to make biscotti.
Oh, I love biscotti.
I was going to make scones.
Oh, I love a good scone.
I was going to make chutney. You don't know what chutney is.
No, I don't. I'm not going to Google it either. But
instead, I had to work in the cottage that drains the life out of you because it's not only are the residents there very needy and you got to do a lot of work with them, but it's also where the staff who are there normally, if there's someone who's not normally there, they kind of send you off to do stuff and then sit around the table and gossip and chat. So I would get done with my shift and come home. Saturday I got done with my shift and came home and it was, you know, I'm done at 3:00. I can do this stuff and then I can go somewhere tonight. It's going to be great. And you know what I did when I got home, Joe? I slept for 3 hours. Yep. And then I woke up and kind of sat on the couch and days, the rest of the evening. And then Saturday I worked a long shift. No, Sunday I worked a very long shift, and I got home just in time to watch the pay-per-view. And it was a great pay-per-view, and I was just still kind of out of it. So when we get to Geeking, I'll tell you why that's probably going to start going away soon. Next thing I'm geeking on was I had training at the, quote, full-time job, unquote, for a new client. That I
freaking. We're on freaking.
Freaking. I'm on freaking.
Yes. His geeking is freaking. That's what's freaking.
Yeah, well.
Geeking.
I'm tired. I can't keep them straight. I've been doing double podcasts since Memorial Day.
Now you're just bragging.
Yeah. Anyway,
you should.
It's a humble brag.
It's a brag.
So they had to do training for this new client, and Joe, my job in the past has involved training people. Mm-hmm. At the group home, I was the trainer for the entire company. At the hospital job, that was my job, was trainer. Other jobs I've had training. This was the worst training I've ever been in my whole entire goddamn life. The trainer did everything you're not supposed to do. We just sat and listened the whole time. There was no interaction. There was a PowerPoint presentation, and she read everything on the PowerPoint presentation. There were no examples. She didn't go, oh, and if a person calls on this screen, you do this, and on this screen, you do this. Nope. Just. And I understand not everybody is trained on how to train people. But this is a big company. They should have people who know how to train people. And I know what they tell you is don't complain. If there's a problem, come to them with a solution.
Uh-huh. That's a big...
I will do that if I ever see my supervisor. The other news that kind of made me go, aww. Marvel has not announced this, but people who work on these projects have said that the Golden and Atomic Age Masterworks, the stuff where they're reprinting work from the 40s and 50s, has been slowed. And what they mean is they were doing about 3 or 4 of these a year. They now aren't asking the people who are working on them for any extra work because they've slowed down the production of them. They're not canceled, they're slowed. So they've asked, well, when is the next one coming out? We will let you know. Granted, you can read a lot of this stuff on Marvel Unlimited, but those are the masterworks that I buy because those are the ones that are really impressive. It's stuff that I've never ever read, and I really... For historical purposes, I like having this stuff, and while the stories may not be great, I still enjoy reading that stuff from the 40s and 50s. I know, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I'm a dweeb, I am a mouth breather, at least I'm not a neckbeard. The next thing I have is when you order an omnibus, you have to wait between 6 and 9 months for it to come out. Back in, I think, March, I ordered the Werewolf by Night Omnibus, which comes out in October. I don't like the fact that I like the fact that I'm getting them at half price or even less than half price. I don't like the fact that I'm paying for them in March and not getting them till October. Or, I understand why they do it because they only go to press with close to orders, and they're printed in China, so they're shipped to the U.S. kind of as ballast. So it's not like they're putting them on a plane and bringing them over. But still, I pay for it in March and I get it in October. Get better return on investment if I just leave my money on the floor. And then the last thing I have was the celebrity death. Normally celebrity deaths, I just kind of go, oh, okay. But Christopher Lee passed last week at the age of 92. I was a huge Christopher Lee fan. I remember, I talked earlier about how I watched Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live was kind of my comedy touchstone. those first 5 years, the not ready for primetime players, that was the show that I would tape record it so that I could listen to it all week. But if they were showing a Hammer Dracula film, I would watch that over Saturday Night Live, because Saturday Night Live, that's going to be rerun. You never knew when the Christopher Lee Dracula movie was going to get shown again. Mm-hmm. And one of the first movie series that I collected on videotape, I bought all of the Hammer Dracula movies. I bought all of the Hammer Frankenstein movies. Huge Christopher Lee fan. And the fact that he worked up till age 92. He was in Lord of the Rings. He was in Star Wars. Then you read about what he did before he was in movies. He was in MI5. He was a spy with Ian Fleming. The man lived a phenomenal life, and yes, he lived to be 92, and he worked pretty much up until the end, but it's still sad that he's gone. And his is one of those deaths that really kind of affected me, because it brought back those childhood memories of watching those Dracula movies. Even though I was a really sensitive kid and scary movies really freaked me out, I had to watch them because it's Christopher Lee, and he's Dracula. Joe, what are you geeking on? What are you loving? What are you excited about? What is a first world good thing instead of a first world problem?
In 3 weeks, my eldest daughter will be home. And I'm sitting here in her room, which is currently going to be her room, with a brand new carpet.
Ooh. Well, the carpet finally showed.
Yeah, damn thing finally showed up. They came in about an hour later. They got it out of here. And I guess this was the smallest job of the day, because his van was pretty much full of carpet. So I said, yeah, we only have 2 more jobs. And I was like, really? 2 jobs and your van is full? So that was over with. TV-wise, still watching MASH reruns. We're towards the end of the 10th season, then we'll wait into the 11th season. Netflix does not have the last episode of MASH on, but we've kind of decided we were going to watch our DVD of it anyways, because when they cut up the 1-hour episodes into half-hour chunks, they kind of do it in weird spots. And I'll still swear to this day there's scenes that they drop or they mismanage or they put out of order just so they can make it, a half-hour show instead of leaving it as it was originally an hour show. I saw a couple movies. We went and saw Jurassic World, which I guess on its opening night, which I wasn't aware. It was okay, I guess. It's hard for me to get all excited about it because I saw the original Jurassic Park in the theater, and that blew me away.
Shoot her!
That blew me away. No, we're not talking to you, Jim. You can go away now. By the way, finish. Your whatever. Get out of here. I love you, Jim. But to me, when you go to these movies, I want a thrill ride. I want a frickin' roller coaster, and it does start out pretty good, and it keeps going at a good pace. But this is more like the roller coaster at the Mall of America. Sure, it's high up, and it takes a few turns, and this one goes a little fast, and then it's just up and over and down. I mean, it's predictable. You see the dinosaurs. There were a couple spots that I geeked out, but halfway through it, I kind of felt like it kind of disappeared, which is really weird because everybody else has seen it like, oh, man, it was so great. It was so great. And I'm like, it wasn't that great, There's certain movies that I believe you have to see in a movie theater to get the full effect. Jurassic World's one of them. The Spider-Man movies are one of them. I remember seeing one of them on a DVD. It might have been the third one because I didn't see that one in the theater. And I just recall, this would have been cooler in the movie theater. Granted, the plot sucked, but some of the special effects, they lose it when you go to a smaller screen. Jurassic World's like that. I mean, if you're going to see it, I would say see a matinee, use a Groupon, turn in some theater points, whatever. But it's not going to translate as much fun on the small screen. This occurred to me as we're watching some of the previews. They had 2 coming out. One of them's called The Wire, or was it The Walk? It's about a guy who actually walked between the World Trade Center. And, of course, some of the scenes...
Oh, what was that? Because I saw that. It was that documentary.
Yeah, this one's a based on real events type movie. And the scenes, of course, that make your stomach go, whoa, is when, he steps on the wire and they take a top-down shot and he's, thousands of feet in the air and you're looking down. There was another one called Everest, another one based on true events, where the avalanche comes at you or a gorge opens up under you. And I keep thinking, these are movies where you could probably get the movie plot watching at home, but you're not going to get that stomach churning vertigo that you would get watching it on the big screen. And whether it's good, whether it's bad, 90% of the movies I see in previews, I'm thinking, I'll just wait till Netflix, Redbox, cheap DVDs at Christmas, whatever. They're not must-see movies. Certainly not like The Avengers. Jurassic World kind of fits under that. You could probably get the same out of it, but it's so much more fun seeing the big dinosaurs on the screen. But I don't know where they're going from here because obviously with the... Did you see Marvel's little post that they put up?
Yes.
For those of you who didn't see it, it's the Christopher... I can't think of his last name. Star-Lord actor. He's on top of a T-Rex waving, and I think the T-Rex is holding Thor's hammer, and Hulk is real angry looking at the T-Rex, and they're basically congratulating them for, having a bigger opening weekend since the Avengers. That is until Star Wars comes along. So the other one we did see, speaking of movies that we rented instead of seeing in the theater, I saw Big Hero 6. Which was... Oh,
I like that movie a lot.
That was fun. That's like, not as cool as The Incredibles, but it was a lot of fun. If you're a superhero fan, you definitely should check it out. And what was funny, I remember the damn comics, Sunfire and Big Hero 6, coming out while I owned Hot Comics. And again, this was during the X-Men glut, and we're all scratching our heads going, what the blankety hooty hoo are you guys thinking? Well, now a complete set's about $150 on eBay. So if you didn't get it then, you're not going to get it now. Why Marvel isn't doing a Big Hero 6 comic? I know at the time they wanted to.
There's a reason for it.
But Disney, whoever was doing it, didn't want to.
Right. Disney said they did not want it to be connected with Marvel.
But why they don't do a comic book about it? Based on the characters from the movie versus the 3-issue crap series that they did in the 90s. It's kind of like, why doesn't WWE use Sting? But anyways, so Big Hero 6, definitely worth checking out. As far as comics, I've been putting more crap on eBay. I really haven't read much. But I did finally open up my hardcover of Preacher. Book 1. I got to tell you, Corey, I don't remember. I've gone 2 issues in, and I don't remember a lot of this.
Oh, wow.
And it is fun. I am having a ball reading this because, there's certain things I remember very vividly. I remember the ending. I remember the results of when they tried to nuke the Saint of Killers. I remember the poor sap on the beach counting every piece of sand. I remember him, a few sexual scenes. But the first couple issues, I'm like, my God, I don't remember any of this. And I'm just having a blast reading it. So I'll be gabbing about that over the next couple of weeks. It's amazing because I've only been reading one at a time, because each issue, I don't know how many are in this first book. Blah, blah, blah. Book 1 collects issues 1 through 12. And I bought the hardcover because, like with Sandman and Kingdom Come and Watchers, and I should have done it with Astro City. I know I'm gonna be rereading this over time, and I wanted a sturdy copy that would hold up. And it was a long frickin' time before they put these things in hardcovers. And I'm just enjoying the heck out of it. Cory, what are you geeking on? What's got you happy? What's got you so happy like me and Groot here? We're just gonna dance.
Joe, did you know there's a Powers TV series?
Really?
Yes, there is a TV series based on the comic Powers.
What channel is it on?
It is on your PlayStation.
Okay, I don't have one of those.
It is a PlayStation Network series. It's the first PlayStation Network series. You can also go to the website and buy it episode by episode. You probably also buy it other places episode by episode. But the pilot was free, so I downloaded the pilot, watched it at the gym. It's different from the comic. It's got a lot of the same ideas, but it's different from the comic in how it's paced and how it's put together. But it's really good. I'm going to be buying the rest of the first season and watching it over the next couple of weeks. I was really impressed because when you heard, oh, it's going to be on people's PlayStation, they're doing TV series on PlayStations now? I swear everybody's going to be doing their own TV series. Yahoo did Community. PlayStation's doing this. Xbox announced a while back that they were going to start doing series. You've got Hulu original series. You've got Netflix. You've got Amazon. Pretty soon you won't be watching any TV stations for any new TV series. They're all going to be reruns of stuff they used to do, which I don't mind at all.
Yeah, I'm not really big on TV. Like I said, the last couple of series we've been watching, MASH on Netflix. Heck, my wife is watching the final 2 episodes of the 3rd season of Orange is the New Black, or whatever the hell that's called.
That's a series about people who get spray tans and pretend to be African American, right?
No, I think it's a lesbian prison flick. Kind of like how the last issue of Bat something or other confirmed that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are, just more than just friends.
They're an item.
Big time.
Yeah. The next thing, I've been doing a lot of binge reading because, stuff stacks up. I've read every issue of Rocket Raccoon, and boy, that series is a lot of fun. I really like it, and it's a lot of fun when you read them. Boom, boom,
Are
boom,
you picking
boom,
up Groot when it comes?
I don't know if I am or not.
Yeah, because that's almost like, what would have been fun is if they'd have done Groot, or like just reprint Rocket Raccoon, but from Groot's standpoint.
Well, that would have been a fun issue.
Anyways, but yeah, it's kind of like Groot is like a adaptation or a continuation of Rocket Raccoon.
The 2 other books I binge read, I read the new Ms. Marvel series. The one about the Muslim teenage girl who's a real superhero fangirl and becomes a superhero. And I was really surprised at how much I liked it. I was also really surprised at how they've really made this character very interesting right from the get-go. And I can see why it's become very popular with younger readers, especially teenage girls, because it's a teenage girl that's treated as a real teenage girl and not the way most comics treat teenage girls, which is a little creepy at times. And then I love the first couple issues of Loki, Agent of Asgard, but I hadn't had time to read it. I got all caught up on those. What a fun series. Such a fun comic. I really enjoyed that one as well. The other thing I've done, I do this every so often, I declared media bankruptcy. My TiVo was at 95%. There was stuff on there that was 2 years old. I can't even tell you how many podcasts I had that had stacked up for the last year or so that I haven't had time to listen to. So Monday, I declared media bankruptcy. If it's more than 3 months old, it's gone. I reclaimed a lot of hard drive space, but I also didn't feel there. I have this weird thing where I go, my TiVo's at 95%. I have to watch stuff. I can't let it get to 100% because then it'll start deleting stuff and I won't have control over it. I gotta watch this stuff. But no, if it's a series, it's going to be on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or something. And if I haven't watched it and it's been 2 years, I'm obviously not that interested in it. Gone. Podcasts, the same thing. Boy, I'd really like to listen to every episode of Comic Geek Speak that they've done that I haven't listened to, but I don't need to hear what they thought about previews 3 years ago. Gone. There were a few that I kept. I kept every episode of the podcast for This American Life because they're timeless. I kept every episode of the podcast Car Talk. Those are both NPR shows. Yes, I'm going to fall behind on them, but they're timeless. You can listen to them at any time. I actually went through WTF, and anybody I hadn't heard of and wasn't already familiar with, gone. Kevin Smith stuff, I really cut down on the Kevin Smith stuff because I don't find his podcast as entertaining as I used to. It's pretty much all about him smoking weed now. Gone. The stuff for Comic Book Men and their side podcast, gone. And I looked at how many podcasts I got rid of and how many gigs of hard drive space they were taking up, and it was like this huge weight was lifted off me. It's that goddamn collector's mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I love it in a way, but I hate it in a way. I love it in a way if I like a book and it's part of a series, I want to read all of them. But then you get that weight of, oh my God, this series has 42 books in it. I don't know if I'm going to have time to read 42 books in a row. No, get out of the collector mentality. And the other good thing is with digital, I've got my Kindle and my Nook. Oh, put it on there. Can read the book on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting rid of stuff. I'm getting rid of paper products. I love books. I read constantly, but I don't need the book anymore. I want the digital copy. And then the last thing that ties in with the freaking, I went into work today and they posted the schedule for the week of 4th of July. And Joe, I now actually, at my full-time job, will have full-time hours starting in the beginning of July.
Cool.
So I won't need to frelling kill myself on the weekends to make up for the fact that I'm 10 hours short every week of being full-time. And I get paid a little better at the, quote, full-time job, unquote. So I would, to make up the extra 10 hours, I would actually have to work around 14 or 15 to make up the money that I was losing from that. So I may have weekends again. And I'm not going to be working any more 14 to 16-hour shifts.
Cool.
I may actually get home and do things. People will be shocked. And, of course, I'm saying, I never get anything done. And then I look, it's like, oh, well, look at all the podcasts you've done. Look at all the this you've done. Look at all that. It's a sickness, Joe. It's a sickness. I need an intervention.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the solo podcast I did last week where I interviewed Scott Nutter, if you have not listened to it yet, please go listen to it. I'm very proud of that interview because I finally learned when to get the hell out of the way and let people talk. It's funny, it's touching, it's inspiring. Scott talks about how he went from 650 pounds to 300 pounds, how he did it. The issues he has always had with food and weight, as well as the fact that now he just sees his full-time job as something he does to make money. His real job is putting on these powerlifting meets that raise money for families who have kids with cancer. And it's just such an inspiring interview. I can't believe that I fell into doing something that good. And it has nothing to do with me. It's all to do with him. Matter of fact, with most of my interviews, I have nothing to do with them being any good. I'm choosing people who have interesting stories, and I'm getting the hell out of their way. Unlike this episode where I'm just in everybody's way. Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us talk funny books for almost 2 hours.
I don't believe it.
It's a supersize episode.
It is.
God, there goes my Saturday.
Yep.
I'm mixing this thing. But we do it for you.
Yes.
And that's what makes me a national treasure.
That and
and Joe too.
There's nothing else. I don't want to be a national treasure.
Why not?
I just want my information back from them Chinese.
You don't want to be hunted by Nicolas Cage?
Never.
Okay. Well, as we say every week, kids, the comics we like the least, we still like better than the comic you like the most. Joe?
It's hard to explain puns to kleptomaniacs because they always take things literally. Hit my music, I feel like dancing.